should be able to speak Welsh the amount of time I spell there. I tried to get my teacher to teach me Welsh instead of